The valley had been silent for so long that Commander Eliza Kane had begun to distrust it. Silence, she knew, was never empty. It was full of waiting. From her prone position atop the shale-covered ridge, she felt the cold leach through her gloves and into her bones, a slow reminder that time did not care about rank or reputation. Below her, the valley stretched wide and cruel, a bowl of stone and shadow carved by centuries of wind. Somewhere down there, nearly 3.25 kilometers away, the target moved in and out of cover, unaware that the air itself had already chosen a side. Kane had taken impossible shots before. Everyone in the teams knew her name, though few ever said it out loud. Records were not why she was here. This mission had come with no flags, no speeches, no guarantees. Just coordinates, wind data, and the quiet understanding that if she failed, a lot of people would never make it home. Her breathing slowed to a mechanical rhythm, 4 seconds in, 6 seconds out, while her spotter whispered updates so softly they felt more like thoughts than sound. The rifle lay steady against her shoulder, an extension of her will, but even will had limits at this distance. The math was brutal. Gravity would pull the round down for nearly 4 full seconds. Wind, unpredictable and layered, would push it sideways in invisible hands. Temperature gradients bent trajectories like lies told too often. Kane's scope showed the target as a distortion more than a shape, heat rippling off rock and metal. She dialed her adjustments with care that bordered on reverence. Each click was a commitment. There would be no correction after the trigger broke. At 3,247 meters, the bullet would be alone for most of its journey. Her mind flickered, uninvited, to the faces she never let herself dwell on. The young lieutenant who joked too much on his first deployment, the medic who carried extra candy for villages they passed through, the promise she had made, to herself more than anyone else, that hesitation would never be the reason someone died. That promise pressed down on her now, heavier than the rifle, heavier than the mountain itself. She felt the familiar tightening in her chest, not fear, but clarity sharpening into something cold and exact. "Wind steady," her spotter murmured. "This is your window." Kane exhaled and held it. The world narrowed to the reticle, floating, patient, waiting for her to stop doubting physics and trust preparation. Her finger took up the slack in the trigger, slow enough that the rifle never knew she was there. For a heartbeat, nothing existed but the distance, the impossible stretch of air between intent and outcome. And then she fired. The shot did not sound like thunder. It cracked, sharp and final, snapping the valley awake as the echo leapt from rock to rock, multiplying itself into something larger than a single action. The recoil nudged her shoulder, familiar, almost gentle, and then there was only waiting. 4 seconds is an eternity when there is nothing you can do but accept what you have already set in motion. Kane stayed frozen, eyes locked through the scope, muscles unmoving as if motion itself might somehow change the past. The impact came as a flicker, almost anticlimactic at that distance, a sudden collapse, a shape no longer upright. Her spotter sucked in a breath and let it out slow. "Confirmed," he said quietly. No cheering, no celebration, just the simple acknowledgement that the equation had resolved the way it needed to. Far below, the valley absorbed the result without comment, wind already beginning to erase the sound of the shot. Kane remained still long after protocol said she could move, her pulse hammered in her ears now, the delayed cost of control. She felt the weight of what she had done settle into her, familiar and unwelcome. Every long-range shot carried a strange intimacy, time enough to think, to imagine, to wonder. She pushed those thoughts away, as she always did. The mission wasn't about her. It never was. When she finally shifted, rolling her shoulder and lifting her cheek from the stock, the cold seemed sharper, more real. Extraction would come soon, reports would be filed, numbers would be written down and repeated by people who had never felt the wind at that altitude. Somewhere, someone would call it history. Kane simply packed her rifle, movements precise and practiced, and took one last look at the valley. The echoes were gone now. The mountains stood exactly as they had before, and Commander Eliza Kane, SEAL, sniper, and unwilling legend, disappeared back into the silence, carrying the distance with her as she always would. If you enjoyed this story and want more intense thrillers and suspenseful adventures, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and share it with friends who love a good mystery. Your support helps me bring you more stories just like this one.